Should you buy Kylie Skin sunscreen? That is the question we're going to address today. We're going to talk about the pros and the cons. All right, so Kylie Skin, Kylie Jenner, she has a broad spectrum SPF 40 face sunscreen out on the market now. So let's talk about the filters that it has in it. It's a chemical sunscreen, or it has organic filters in it. It has avobenzone, homosalate, octosalate, and octocrylene in it. Those are all reef safe chemical sunscreens, chemical filters. It's a completely clear sunscreen. When you put it on, it does not leave any type of cast on your skin whatsoever, but it has that really thick dimethicone feel, which I don't mind dimethicone. I actually think it's a wonderful occlusive, especially for people with oily skin, but this is where I usually don't like it. When it's that really thick, it almost feels like a primer, which people like. That's the thing. It's one of those things where I think people either love the feel of this kind of a sunscreen or they hate the feel of the sunscreen. You know, I was talking to Tom, who's one of our moderators for our Facebook group, and he's obsessed with the sunscreen. But you can see it dries down to this matte finish. It makes your skin feel like it's powdery soft. Like it's a really nice texture, don't get me wrong, and I can see why people like it, but for me, it's not the kind of texture that I tend to like. I think one of the trickiest things about sunscreen is getting people to actually enjoy it and to use it on a daily basis. So if you really take a look at that, it seems like her and her team really try to reach far with who was going to be using this. They really took into account that she's got a big mass audience. I think young people are more inclined to use something like this too, because it's going to feel like a primer, and you know, if they're wearing makeup and stuff, it's just going to look really soft on their skin. So I think that this makes a lot of sense that Kylie Skin would put this out as their sunscreen. I'm going to walk you through some of the pros and cons of it. The pros: it works on all skin types. It doesn't have any comedogenic ingredients in it. It is SPF 40. It is transparent, so it won't leave that white cast on anybody's skin tone. And I think it's a sunscreen that people will enjoy using. I think like they'll be more inclined to use it, especially under makeup, because it does have a lot of dimethicone in it. So it gives that kind of like powdery, almost a matte primer finish to it, and I'm going like this because I have some on my fingers. It's also fragrance free, it is reef safe as far as the chemical filters in it, and it has some nourishing ingredients in it. It has shea butter in it, it does have some antioxidants in it, and it has some marine algae ingredients in it as well, which are really strengthening for the skin. They can be brightening for the skin and just very nice for the filters that are in here as well. They just all complement each other. So overall, this is a very nice sunscreen. But let's talk about some of the cons of this. So one, I mentioned that it has a lot of dimethicone and it has that powdery feel. There are people that just hate the way that feels. I am one of those people. I do not mind dimethicone. And you know, I think a lot of people don't realize dimethicone can come in, you know, different molecular weights. It can be good quality, it can be bad quality. It's not like one type of dimethicone and that's it. It's kind of like hyaluronic acid. There are different molecular weights. There is a different quality to it. You know, you just have to kind of try things out. You can't judge dimethicone just by an ingredient list. You have to actually feel it. This has that kind of thick, powdery dimethicone feel to it that some people love. I'll talk to Nikki, for instance, who does my makeup, and she loves the way this feels on her skin, and she's obsessed with this type of a sunscreen. The other thing I want to point out, which I don't think is really that big of an issue, but I know that it is for a lot of people, it has chemical filters in it, the organic filters. And while they're reef safe, I know that some people are really interested in only using mineral or physical sunscreens like titanium dioxide and zinc oxide. The thing with that is chemical filters tend to feel more cosmetically elegant. That's why this feels really, really nice. And I understand why Kylie and her team would go for this type of a sunscreen with the chemical filters. It's because it just feels better. It's going to feel better as a primer. For people that, you know, are worried about a white cast, you have less of a chance of getting a white cast with these types of filters, whereas a mineral sunscreen is powder, and it's just like finely milled powder that gets a liquid added to it. And so if you think about that, it's really, really hard to not get a white cast with a mineral sunscreen. So I understand why they went that route, but I know that a lot of people don't want to use chemical filters. I personally don't think there's anything wrong with that, and sometimes I think that they work better too when I wear makeup and stuff, so I wouldn't discount it because of it. but it's just something to point out as a con for some people. And then one last thing that's like sort of a con, but not that big of a deal, is that it's not widely accessible. Right now, it's only available on KylieSkin.com. I know that Kylie Skin is available at Ulta, but I couldn't find this on the Ulta website. Is that a huge deal? It's not. You know, you just have to be shopping for Kylie Skin products, which happens because they're a brand new company. They're only a year old, so it's not widely available yet. If you are looking for a good dupe for the Kylie Skin sunscreen, and when I say it's a dupe, I mean the Kylie Skin sunscreen is a dupe maybe for this. It is by Supergoop. It's their unseen sunscreen. This is just completely faded from being in a bag, from sitting in a purse. I actually stole this from Nikki, my makeup artist, and that's actually how I know. She loves the way that this kind of dimethicone finish feels on her skin because she's obsessed with this sunscreen. This is almost to the T the same sunscreen as Kylie Skin. I don't think that that's controversial at all. I think that that happens a lot where brands are very, very similar. They might be using a similar manufacturer sometimes. I don't think in this case they are, but it's not one of those things where it's wild to find a product that is very, very similar. They both have the same type of sunscreen filters. They vary just slightly in percentages, but they're all the same ones. It also has very similar ingredients. Dimethicone is one of the main ingredients. Shea butter is the moisturizing, conditioning ingredient in this. This doesn't have those marine algae extracts, but it has pretty much everything else that the Kylie Skin one has, and it also feels exactly the same. Like, it's actually amazing how similar they are. If I put them on my hand side by side, you would never know which one is which because they are so similar in texture. I'd say really the biggest difference between these two sunscreens is that this is $34 by Supergoop and this one is $28. The Supergoop Unseen Sunscreen is actually a few dollars more, but if you take into account how accessible it is, it's available at a ton of different retailers, not just beauty retailers, it's even available at Nordstrom, for instance. You might not be paying for the shipping, which you might be paying for with this. They have a certain dollar amount on KylieSkin.com that you can get free shipping with, but you're more likely, in my opinion, right, to be shopping at one of these retailers that sells Supergoop. But remember, you know, Supergoop's just been around longer than Kylie Skin. That's not to say that this won't be widely available eventually. But if you are looking for something very similar, or if you have used this and you wonder what this might feel like, they almost feel, I mean, they're almost exactly to the T the same sunscreen. So should you buy Kylie Skin sunscreen? I think so. If you are a fan of Kylie, if you are already on the market for a really nice sunscreen, and if you like that primer type of feel, I keep going back to touching my hand, because it does make your skin feel really super soft. If you like that feel, then you're going to love this, and it absolutely won't leave a white cast on your skin. So this is a really great sunscreen. I have actually no complaints about it besides that personal preference of that dimethicone feel, but again, that's a very personal preference. So if you like it, you're gonna like this one. This is essentially a review of the Supergoop Unseen Sunscreen as well, because again, they're pretty much the same thing. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below, or if you've tried this and you love it, I'm sure people would love to hear that. Or if you hate it, tell me why. Find me on Instagram, I'm at Yara, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.